Hey guys, I'm back for another video, and today I have something special for you guys. Anyone who's been subscribed to me for a long time might remember 2 years ago, I uploaded a video called 18 Hypixel Bedwars tricks that you should know, the ToolBox. Back then, Bedwars was actually about 2 years old, so here we are at the 4th year mark of Bedwars being released. Jeez, I feel old. And I have more tips for you guys. This is a sequel to that video. Only took 2 years, I know. Anyways, as the years went on, I played a lot of Skyblock, of course, but you know, Bedwars was always something I'd play every now and again, and it turns out my PvP ability isn't that great, but the only thing that carries me when I play Bedwars is my tricks, and as the title suggests, I've got more of them. So let's get started. These are 16 more Hypixel Bedwars tricks that you should know. So, starting off, splitting the generator. This is a concept that only really matters in team modes, so for anyone that plays solo, I'm sorry, but if you play in doubles, threes, or fours, this is an essential thing to know. So, you know, when you start out the game, everybody stands in the generator, everybody gets the items. It basically, for each iron or gold that drops, every single person in the generator gets it. Well, that concept can actually be abused even after the start of the game. So what you could do is, let's say your teammate and yourself are running up to a base. Maybe you both died and are about to respawn. The first person at the base would shift and then hover over the edge of the generator. They would shift just over the barrier between the slabs and the rest of the floor. And if you angle it correctly, when the other person runs into the generator, you both get the stuff. It does take a little bit of practice, but it is very consistent once you get good at it. And what happens is you both get the items. So it's an easy way to basically duplicate the items from the generator. And if you're in a situation where you lost your bed and both of you are running up to a dead base and you need gear like fireballs, armor, bows, whatever, this is an essential strategy to know because it literally gives you double the gear. Great one to start off with. Somewhere along the line in Bedwars' development, they updated the game and made it so that diamond generators don't work like they used to. So basically, right, let's say you're rushing a base, let's say it's your neighbor, the diamond island's in the middle, you don't have time to spend the diamonds, but you want to later, so you chuck the diamonds on the floor and go attack the base. You kill the other player, come back, and it turns out the 4 diamonds that you threw on the floor is still 4 diamonds, and you go to the generator and there's nothing in there. So yeah, that sucks. You could have probably had 2 extra diamonds generate had you thrown the diamonds a little further away from the generator. So the second tip is that if you want to do something like that and, you know, save the diamonds for later, chuck them on the floor just a little bit farther away from the generator. I'd say like 8 blocks away if you can, so that the game thinks, hey, there's no diamonds there, and generates more. So, you know, saving 4 diamonds can turn into saving 6, which could be the difference between, you know, getting sharp or getting prot 1 and sharp. This next one's pretty basic, but I forgot it in the last video, so I might as well mention it now. Neo jumping, which is basically jumping around a bridge that has a wall on it, or I would say this is like a bridge strat, would be the placing a block underneath you as you jump around. It's not really a Neo, but yeah, so jumping around the bridge. Oh, by the way, I should probably mention a lot of these tips have supporting footage, not only from me, but from some of my friends who also play Bedwars, Hannah XX Rose and Wally Bear. I will be leaving both of their channels in the description. They are way better Bedwars players than I am. Would highly recommend their channels. Anyways, you can see some of the clips from them demonstrating some of these strategies. Oh, this next one is kind of awesome. So what you could do is that, let's say you don't have a bed and you need to do something very risky, like breaking a bed or getting a final kill, but you don't want to risk dying. So what you could do is, right before you're going to do something very risky, you throw a pearl into the air, do the risky thing you were going to do, and then hopefully by the time you are done, the pearl will land and then teleport you back to safety before you die. So in practice, this means throwing a pearl at an enemy base. Just before it lands, throw another one up in the air, break the bed, maybe get a few hits on your enemy, and before they crit you out or knock you in the void, your second pearl lands and you teleport back. It's pretty awesome. I love this strategy. I've done it multiple times to get the final kill of the game, and it's one of the coolest looking strategies. I came up with it by accident, if I'm gonna be honest. Definitely not the first one to do it. I independently thought of the idea. Other people have done it, but I felt like a genius when I did it for the first time. It was incredible. Anyways, I would highly recommend this one. Really only towards the end of the game. You know, if you have a bed, there's no reason to do this, because chances are it's going to take either 2 pearls or a pearl and a fireball or a pearl and TNT, and it's very expensive, but it works like a charm. It's freaking great. Next up, this is one I've never personally done, but I have seen some sweats do it. It takes a lot of skill and practice, but if you can manage it, it will get you out of some pretty sticky situations. So let's say you're running away from somebody and you don't want to get knocked in the void or crit out or whatever. What you can do is basically just Jitterbridge extremely fast and build a wall in front of yourself, or just get high enough, fast enough that people can't smack you in the void just as you reach an edge. I don't really know how to describe it other than that, but the clip will show what it's like. It looks almost hackery how quick it is, so it takes a lot of skill, but if you're able to bridge your way up fast enough, then you can avoid getting smacked off the edge. It's pretty great. Another one that's very basic, and a lot of people have done it. It's basically the hallmark of any clips channel for Sky Wars or Bed Wars, and it's block clutching. You know, it really goes without saying, just place a block underneath yourself so you don't fall, right? But there are ways to do it more effectively. Let's say putting the blocks in a slot that is hotkeyable or next to your sword so that you can, you know, place the block underneath yourself and not fall in the void. Some people actually butterfly click and then just build a bridge as they're flying out into the void and still manage to get a block under themselves. It's kind of insane. Again, this is one I personally don't do too often, but I have a few moments like that. So it's a good little tip there. Keep it in the back of your mind. If you're about to get knocked in the void, be ready to go to your blocks and start clicking as fast as you can underneath yourself and hope that it works out. Oh, this is another one that is really basic and classic, but it works out really well. Let's say you're rushing a base and the player is not there. So the enemy's bed is wide open. You've broken the bed defense. They don't even have a trap. The bed is right there and you can just click it and it'll break. But you notice that player is attacking another base. What you could do is actually wait until they put themselves in a worse situation. Let's say they're about to fight somebody. They break a bed for you and they're about to final kill somebody or get killed, and then you break the bed right before at the most inconvenient time and they die or get a final kill and are very weak and you could clean. So sometimes it's best to let other players do the work for you. This is a great strategy for solo because, you know, it could get a second bed broken without you doing any effort really. So like, let's say I rush a base and this guy's attacking the next base over. I'm about to break the bed and notice that, and I stop and wait. The other guy breaks the bed and then starts fighting the other guy. I break the bed and then the guy freaks out, tries running away and dies. So then the base he attacked has one player left with like 2 HP. And then by the time I get over there, he's probably gapped or something, is at half health, and I clean and then win. And I get 2 bases for the price of 1. It's a great strategy. Just, you know, sometimes just pay attention to your surroundings. You know, just breaking the bed as fast as possible. The fish brain strategy is not necessarily the best way to go. Just pay attention. Sometimes, you know, other players can work to your advantage. Here's another really niche one, but it is something you can buy with iron, so it actually can work pretty soon in the game if you're on a fast iron map. So what you could do is, let's say you're running away from somebody and you really need to get some extra distance, right? They are right behind you. You have important resources, maybe diamonds, or maybe you don't have a bed and you don't want to get knocked in the void. You can actually place a pop-up tower on the floor as you're running away, and it will trap the person inside of the pop-up tower. It takes them by surprise. No one expects you to do that. And sometimes it could even knock them in the void if you do this over a bridge, because sometimes they have nowhere to go and they get suffocated in the block and knocked down. But yeah, it's actually pretty effective. I've used it several times before, and it's just no one sees it coming, and half the time they fall in the void because they get shoved into it by the blocks. It's the funniest way to get away from somebody when they're in a hot pursuit, is just pop up tower in their face. It's kind of great. Next up is ladder clutching. So water bucket clutching is something that I talked about in the previous video, and you know, it works great. It's pretty consistent, and it's a good way to avoid taking fall damage. But what you could do is actually the same thing with a ladder. Now, the advantage of ladders is that they only cost, I think it's 4 iron for 16 of them, so they are very cheap, and you can clutch multiple times. You don't have the limitation of a water bucket costing 4 gold. Yeah, ladder clutching is pretty great. Now, the disadvantage of ladder clutching is that you do need to place it on the side of a block instead of the top of a block, so not every situation is going to work with a ladder clutch. If you know you're going to pass a certain spot several times, you can place a block and anticipate that you're going to be jumping there again so that you can place a ladder. But yeah, ladder clutching is a good way to avoid fall damage for cheap. You can get one every respawn. 4 iron is not going to break the bank. And ladders actually have many purposes, actually. Another way to use ladders is actually to place them behind you when you know someone's about to fight you, and you take reduced knockback. Now, I've tried this, and it definitely takes getting used to. The dynamic of a fight changes a lot when you're stuck in a ladder. You still do take KB, so don't think you're immune to it, but you definitely take less. So be careful when you're doing your fights. It's actually great for bridge fights because, again, the reduced knockback means you're probably going to either win, or it'll come down to whoever has more damage and health in a bridge fight. But yeah, ladders are great for that as well. Okay, this next one is really something you can't teach. It's just like the bucket clutches, like I was saying before. It's something you just kind of get a sense for. It's punching fireballs. If you didn't know, fireballs actually can be punched out of the air, just like the gassed fireballs. Now, the ones in Hypixel Bedwars go much faster than gassed fireballs, so you really need to have an awesome reaction time, and sometimes because of ping, it just won't work. The fireball will blow up no matter how hard you try. But if you're on a bridge or something and you don't want to get knocked off the edge and you have nothing else to lose, might as well try and punch the fireball out of the air. Sometimes it'll work, and you'll get crazy clips like the one you see right there, where you just don't die because you punch the fireball out of the air. It definitely takes people by surprise. Also, another thing that's happened to me by accident, I'm not going to say people did this on purpose, although if they did, they're freaking legends. But what you could also do is if somebody's running away from you and they're about to fireball jump, you can punch their fireball and then the jump won't work. That's only happened to me a few times, but man, does it feel... You just feel robbed of your fireball jump because the person punched it before it hit the floor and you just didn't get launched. It's bizarre, but anyways, you can punch fireballs. Do what you will with that information. Okay, this one is big brain. I didn't even know you could do this, but it turns out there's actually a way to clutch getting fireballed off a bridge for cheaper than an ender pearl. So the thing is, right, everyone's biggest fear when they're bridging is whether or not they're going to get fireballed off the edge. Anywhere from the mid to late game in a Bed Wars game, chances are somebody's going to have a fireball and try to snipe you from across the map if they see you, right? So what you could do is, you know, ender pearls are expensive. They cost 4 emeralds. What you could do is get 2 bridge eggs for the same price, and you actually get a more consistent ability to clutch with a bridge egg. So what happens is, let's say you get fireballed, then you fall off the edge. First of all, you always want to be bridging above other players. So if you have bridge eggs, make sure you are placing a bridge such that if someone fireballs you, it's from underneath. And then what you can do is, as soon as they throw the fireball and knock you off the edge, you can chuck a bridge egg straight down and it'll place blocks underneath you, and then you clutch. It looks insane because it is insane. I've only done it a few times. I learned this one from Wally Bear. It's freaking crazy. I'm going to use it more often because 2 emeralds is a lot easier to get than 4. And, you know, if you don't have a bed and, you know, you manage to get 1 generator's worth of emeralds, you can clutch, and it's it's an awesome way to get clips. Speaking of bridge eggs, you can actually use them to escape if you are not on a bridge or way up in the air. This is another one I saw from, I think it was Hannah that did this one. I could be wrong. But what you could do is fireball jump, and then just as you reach the peak of your jump, you throw a bridge egg. So what happens is not only have you escaped somebody with a fireball jump, but your range has increased substantially. So let's say you are running away from somebody, right? You have no bed, they're about to kill you, and you have a bridge egg and a fireball in your hotbar. You fireball jump and then throw the egg, and you can get almost anywhere in the map this way. Not only did you get launched like 10 blocks forward by the fireball jump, but now the bridge egg propels you another 25-ish blocks. You can go from like a base to mid this way, and since the bridge egg's way up in the air, they're gonna have to bridge to it to get to you. So it's a great way to escape somebody and get some crazy distance. You know, it's also another way to get to a base really fast. But yeah, it's a good combination. Would recommend. This is actually another basic piece of knowledge that I didn't know after playing Bed Wars for nearly 4 years. When you're buying an item in the shop, you can actually buy the item by pressing the hotkey or key corresponding to a hotbar slot. So you don't actually have to left or right click on the items in the shop. You can just press the key to the corresponding hotbar slot. So this is nice if you want to say buy all tools and blocks and a piece of TNT, and you don't want to have to rearrange everything in your hotbar afterwards. Like, let's say I want to buy a pickaxe, an axe, and shears. I could just press the 2, 3, and 4 keys on those items, and then they will appear in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th slot without having to move my sword, without having to rearrange the tools. And it actually shoves all the materials that are in that slot into other slots. It's actually kind of great. It speeds things up a lot if you get used to it. So yeah, that could shave off a few seconds if you're, let's say, in the beginning of a game and you really want to get out to the rest of the game really fast, and you don't want to fiddle around with your inventory for a few extra seconds. Next up, some more combinations of items. This one's kind of niche. You don't really have to use it all that often, but if you want to take a player by surprise, you can place a TNT without going directly above the base, fireball the TNT, and then it will launch it. So a prime TNT is an entity like any other that could get launched. And, you know, a fireball can launch entities. So you can launch the TNT into the bed defense and break it for a pretty interesting looking clip. I don't know if it's really that useful, but that discovery will lead to a much more useful suggestion like the next one, which is launching a pearl with TNT to boost it and get ridiculous range. Zyph made a whole video about this and it kind of blew my mind. So it turns out what you could do is place a TNT, and right before it blows up, almost right as it's blowing up actually, like the instant, this clip I did it a little early, I threw it a bit early, but if you throw the pearl just as the TNT is blowing up or like a millisecond before, it really helps to have a TNT timer mod. I use Badline's version. But if you can throw the pearl just as the TNT is blowing up, you can launch it and get ridiculous range, catch a player by surprise. You can go across the entire map. And again, because entities exploding could launch other entities. So do with that what you will. I did it for the first time in this clip and I was freaking out. It was cool as hell. Oh, and to end off the video, this is never going to be useful, but you know, it's something that you could do that's kind of fun. What you could do is on maps with water, maybe you bucket clutched at some point, maybe you're playing on Lighthouse in those 2 water spots, you can take a sponge with you and place the sponge in the water to get rid of it. Let's say you just clutched into the water and didn't take fall damage. Some guy's chasing you, use a sponge, and then they fall and take a ton of fall damage. This also works by, you know, placing blocks or throwing a bridge egg or just throwing blocks above the water, just preventing them from landing in the water, and they'll take a ton of damage. This is not something you're going to be doing often. It's really just something you have to kind of be big brain in the moment. It's not, you're not going to have a sponge in your hotbar, let's be honest, but if you did have blocks, you could throw the blocks behind you so that if someone chasing you falls into where the water is, they fall on the block and then they die. So there you go. Those are 16 Hypixel Bedwars tricks that you didn't know. well, hopefully you didn't know, otherwise how'd you get this far in the video? This is the sequel to my 2-year-old video. Hopefully it helped you out, and like I said, I'm not the greatest at PvP, but I do know how to be big brain in this game, so it definitely carries when I'm playing. Anyways, if you like this video, leave a like down below and subscribe for more Bedwars content, maybe? I know I upload a lot of Skyblock, but, you know, I'm not above a little bit of Bedwars. Anyways, guess that's it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.